Yes.
Can you tell us a story about a time where it seemed like the money wasn't there to do the right thing, but you kept at it and new partnerships or opportunities emerged, and kind of what it took for you or others around you to keep believing in that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did everyone hear the question? When did it look like the money wasn't going to come? Well, can you imagine this small organization thinking that they were going to build a brand new 18,000 square foot Innovations and Wellness Commons for us with a price tag of $6 million with no money in the bank to support that. And we kept going to explain the concept, and we would receive, who do we explain it to? We would explain it to our wonderful foundation friends. We'd explain it to a construction group, and we kept explaining it. And they sharpened our understanding that we were talking two different languages. And by that I mean they hadn't understood integrated health. They thought we were talking strange, mystical, magical conversations. And they didn't. One person even asked me, "Who's going to buy juice in your community?" So it was like never to be discouraged, but to find out how this informs the right questions. So I began to ask, well, now, what language do you speak in? Tell me about your community. And wow, in their communities that they lived, they were going to massage and they were going to all kinds of things that would represent integrated healthcare. And I'm going on along because this was 6 years in the making. And then a foundation or two gave seed money. And it was a beginning to be a tipping point. Plus, our pro forma, thank you kindly, cash flowed. And then we had Outpost Natural Foods, and I'm going to name them, who agreed to a lease up, not to sign the lease, but a letter of intent. And then there was the federal government. We must not forget about the federal government. There was an Office of Community Service. Then there was the state government. Very different political entities, but they began to understand it. And everybody understood it when it was 100% leased. Larry and I used to call these demonstration projects. Sometimes you can't go full throttle. Who would believe that we could take a vacant lot and grow peaches on it and it would turn into a peach orchard? My point to you is you're so smart. Demonstrate to tipping scale. Demonstrate to tipping scale. And now, this week, we've been invited to think of two more developments. All of a sudden, we're commercial developers. But our goals are clear. Don't be discouraged. The money is there. The language may not be there. Create partnerships. Did that address it? Okay. Love that question. Any other? I saw here. Cindy.
Well, I just have a question about, so the Department of Family Medicine has become now a Department of Family Medicine and Community Health. Our main purpose is really training family doctors, and family doctors prevent illness. They take care of people who are sick. But how do you recommend that the department really embraces and activates this concept of community health when we're in the business of training doctors?
Yeah.
How would you address that?
Well, I thought I was gently saying put the students and the faculty in the community. Think of your rotations. Think of your summers. I'm always so impressed at your foreign travel. Think of communities. Look at this beautiful center. It's sitting in a community. Yes, your first commitment is to train family doctors. But I don't see how you could do that without having family doctors in community. And all of the communities may not be transforming communities, but I would certainly invite that to be one of them, which means probably placing resources to make that happen. And there's projects waiting. And we are so aware that the first commitment of a family doctor that is a student is to become a family doctor. So the work is intense. However, there's so many ways of getting engaged.
So one of the other things that the department does is research, and we want to be mindful of doing research that matters to the people who are actually in the communities and on the receiving end of healthcare. So you identified 8 strategic priorities for Walnut Way, and one of them being health. And I guess my question is, do you see all of those 8 being equal in priority to achieving optimum health for the people in your community, or are some of them higher priority than others?
The only reason that one of those would be higher than the other is our ability to find the pathways of resources. Public safety, how could you diminish that? Academic achievement has been one that has been just a challenge for us. But we're finding through partnerships a way of beginning to address that, and also to begin to look at complexes, physical environment that places these opportunities together. I thought you were going to go someplace else with the research part, and so I'm just going to take that as an opportunity. Dr. Hawk sits with the Community Research Council. We went through a period of time where there were people knocking on the door wanting to do research projects, and we have been a beneficiary of research projects that have demonstrated and brought to scale some of our work. And our way of engaging in that was to form a community research council. There's also the Lindsay Heights Neighborhood Health Alliance. And these 2 entities are free will associations. They are not a 501c3, they're not structured as a nonprofit, and that's been intentional. They're free will, there's training, and people are involved. So I think if your question had been, how do you follow the data and how do you engage people, that would be one of the ways that, and at one point, there's been at least 1, maybe 2 Triumph students that have worked with our Lindsay Heights Neighborhood Health Alliance and also with our Community Research Council. So that the research the importance of that is to make sure that the data, the project and the data are available and key, and they feed back. We have a delegation that has returned from MEDIC, and that's Medical Education Exchange with Cuba. And we learned so much with that trip about how the investment of the community is one supported by data and information. They literally know who's pregnant, what care is needed, and we are impressed with that. And so this is a long answer to your question, but when we came back, each member of this delegation decided to take a special assignment, and one of them is a celebration of any birth in our community. Now that seems minor, but that makes that child so precious. And it's saying to that parent, or parents, that family, we cherish your child. And this is being done in a neighbor's backyard, and we're planning for it in the summer. Can you see how medical students could be attached to this? We went to a community meeting in Cuba, out in the rural part, and it's late at night, bands are going, it's a great time. And we look up, and someone introduces us to their doctor who lives in this community. And when we go to the medical hospitals, the diversity of people are clear. Now, I know it is a different system, but I have also experienced success by going there. And their literacy rate is 99%. Think about that. Okay, another question, comment?
This one is pretty much piggybacks on what you've just been saying, but when we're trying to engage a population, where have you found the most success in terms of approaching a group? So, for example, when I was a kid, the public health, they really stepped in and pushed a vaccination program. And they did that effectively because they involved the mothers.
Mm-hmm.
So my question, I guess, to you is, when you and Larry have been working on these projects, who do you start? How do you figure out who to start with first? I appreciate your comment about get as many opinions, but where have you had the most success starting first? So in my mind, it's the schools with young in terms of getting diversity and knowledge in the community.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are many starting points. It depends upon the project. This peace project that was showing at one point, we really went to the men, the young men who had been there and seen this young man killed and died. Now, it's not, that doesn't mean that it was easy. They were hurt, they were angry, they had some accusations about police acting in a way that wasn't proper on that day. They were scared, but we didn't give up on them. And we talked with them over and over again, and we put resources there. And in our neighborhood, those young men, some of them, half of them, have changed their pathways. And we have heard that what they want is employment or schooling. Now, half, I mean, it's not 100%. But so it depends upon the area. I think when people that are not living in the community come into the community, it's a good chance to find a partner and to talk with that partner over time about their own ambitions, about what they would like to see happen. And that takes time. So sometimes we go to the schools, sometimes we're with the parents, we have a door-to-door campaign, and sometimes people come to us. And that's what community engagement really is about, it is a call and response. You're going out, you're coming back in. Yes, now that I know that, are other neighbors coming to you for mentorship and transformation? Yes. I don't want to oversimplify what it feels like living in a community that has been so isolated and where resources seem so limited, and that scarcity is almost a way that you live. So now neighbors do come to us because I believe they understand that we share. We share information, we share resources, we share flowers. So it's not the question of, are they coming to me? It's more the question, why are they coming? Again, I mentioned Larry and I live in this neighborhood. We've not had anyone abuse us in terms of ringing our doorbell, but they know they can. neighbors that don't live in our neighborhood. I mean, who's your neighbor? Neighbors that don't live in our neighborhood are coming to us. And we share our facilities. I want to emphasize how important it is to have facilities, to have places where people can gather. So the answer is yes. And remember, we document, we share the truth. We have newsletters, we have websites, and people do come to us. They've come to us as far away as from Australia and China. And I have no more questions. My work is done.
Yeah. Okay. So for the last 2 years, I've had the privilege of working on a project where our community has been the National Veterans Health Administration. But recently, we've been asking ourselves, based on what we've learned, what is sort of the next evolution of the project that we're working on. And the way that we're actually framing it now is the overall theme is called Whole Me, Whole We. And the notion is that when you're working on anything that's related to transformation, that there's the me component and there's the we component.
Mhm.
And I was interested in terms of what you're sharing in terms of your organization, for example, having moved to hiring a health coach in Angela. And so, and sort of the, so the question that I have for you is, have you seen a shift over time in terms of when you're thinking about engaging the community, the degree to which self-engagement, self-reflection, self-awareness, so how has the relationship with the me shifted over time with respect to the relationship with the we and the whole,
Mhm.
and whether that's been part of something that has been a conscious part of your attention with respect to transformation.
Yes, one of the early projects that we worked with was with the Medical College of Wisconsin on an efficacy project to really measure and see if over time the individuals in our group felt more responsible for their own health. And the answer is yes. However, that didn't diminish their feeling responsible for the collective health. So the me and we, of course, is there, but it doesn't have to be a split. And what we've found is that the more an individual felt capable of monitoring their own health and well-being, feeling safe and being able to negotiate systems, they became informants and helpers to others.
Right, and that's exactly, I think, what we've been finding too is that, there's sometimes the absence of the me, actually. There's not enough focus on that. So it's about, trying to go out, make change, affect neighborhoods and so on. But if it's not more grounded in that aspect, it can actually be pretty hard to affect the we as well.
Yeah, I mean, if I am broken, it's going to be difficult for me to be a healer to others. And so we put a lot of energy on acknowledging our spiritual selves, our strength, and our healing process. And these networks then are becoming so strong. It's early on in our process, but I am already seeing such glimmer of hope. It's resiliency. And so the resiliency is right inside. They've learned this is a resilient community with all that it has lost, but now to have a different type of resilience, that it is that I am an advocate for change, that I take care of myself. These are so important, and I think it's some of the best work that we're doing. I appreciate your question. Got another one. How do you balance your efforts to hear every voice with your efforts to move forward with action and bog down in the listening phase of implementation? The same way that you do. You set timelines, right? Okay, we want everybody's voice, and then if you don't, we'll get you the next round. It's a call and response, and are we completely satisfied on most cases that we've gotten enough? No, no, we're not. However, we know when we have enough to make a decision. And if it's an urgency, we have to move. We have to take a risk. This is risk taking. And yes, we have to take a risk. If you come, I love Outposts. They kept saying, we can't find a model where an inner city co-op has worked. Okay, the building's going up. And you know they're the greatest champions because they found enough. They found that they can do this and they'll take another step on the risk. Again, we call this demonstration. Would I expect you to move and open up a full-blown clinic or teaching space in the Commons? Perhaps not. But to take a risk, to try it, to have a permanency, yeah, a demonstration. So the answer to your question is we set timelines. We do everything we can to get enough intelligence, and then we move. That's a lovely question. Any other questions from the larger world? Any questions or comments from this world? Was this close to what you expected is my question? Okay, then I'm going to go back to Angela in closing. Remember where I found Angela? On the website last night. It's so great. Now, I have taken a pause class by Angela. And a pause class, you know what a pause class is? So a pause class is where you go and she meditates with you so you learn how to keep your mind quiet. One of the things that I looked at in your evaluations seemed to be a call to love each other more and to be kind to each other with all the stress you have. And we're under a lot of stress also, or could be, but we take a pause. And so I went to her first pause class. Oh, it was so beautiful. And there were people from all over, from in the neighborhood, from outside of the neighborhood, because it was open. So I've experienced Angela, so I feel that I can now quote Angela. If I could find it. So she has a mission and an ultimate goal. And I would encourage you as you work with your family doctors to let that bubble up. And hers is to help people find movement, flexibility, and joy within their body for the rest of their life, as it is what we are all meant to experience. Thank you.